Okay, I think we can start. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jason Cardozi from Partnerships and Market Insights at Sato, and thank you so much for joining us live today for this session on capture and behavior, where we'll be sharing and discussing consumer insights and staying engaged with the users and their evolving needs. We'll be hearing research we carried out in peri-urban Accra, which wrapped up just prior to the pandemic, and also some perspectives from Ghana and globally for some consumer-obsessed speakers and panelists that we have joining us today. And my screen is frozen. There we go. Okay, so just to run through the flow of today's session, I'll be setting the stage along with Aaron McCusker and Jan Willem Rosenboom. We'll then have a 35 to 40-minute presentation on the research in Ghana from Archipelago. And then we'll move into 5 panelists from Ghana, representing all of Africa for Sato, all of innovation for Sato, Akyes Sanitation in Jordan, and the director of scope from Tamil Nadu, India. And as I said, if you have any questions, please go ahead and add them to the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen anytime during the session. We're going to take as many as we can before we close, and we'll also have our contact information up before we wrap up in case you want to keep the discussion going. So we've got actually a very packed session today and a number of passionate people who have a lot to say. And I'd like to start to kick us off today and welcome Aaron McCusker, who is the leader of Sato and the chair of the Toilet Board Coalition. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Jason. And very happy to add my welcome to everyone who's able to join us as well. So my name is Aaron McCusker. I'm the leader of Sato, a part of Lixil. And many of you may not know Lixil, but Lixil is a leading maker of housing and water technologies that serve over 1 billion people every day. Sato is one of the brands within Lixil, and we really serve an entirely new consumer segment for Lixil. We make an affordable line of innovative products for the bathroom experience, so sanitation and now hygiene with the launch of our most recent product, the Sato Tap. We do have an exhibit here at FSM6, and I hope that you'll take a few minutes and visit our booth to learn more about our full range of products. Sato as a brand really enables Lixil to serve our purpose of making better homes a reality for everyone, everywhere. And we are able to do that because, as Jason said, we are consumer obsessed. You know, consumers and customers are at the heart of everything that we do. We started with a single product, and based on listening to the needs of the consumers, listening to the needs of the different markets that we wanted to expand into, we've really been able to adapt our products and develop much more of a full line of solutions that has reached over 38 countries globally now. Really excited today to share with you our market research from Ghana. It's been a long time coming, partially delayed with the pandemic, but this enabled us to gain some insights that were specifically focused on the consumer experience at the capture stage of bringing consumers into the FSM value chain. And what we mean by the capture stage is, how do we build awareness of some of these innovative solutions and the role of toilets and sanitation in communities, and encourage consumers to make the decision to purchase toilets and to install those toilets? Because we know that that's the very first step to getting into the FSM value chain of then continuing to use those toilets and driving the behavior change that we as a sector all know is critical to the success of those long business models. I hope that today you will hear something new and interesting, an insight that will be relevant to your business, to your organization or your community, and something that may encourage you to, go out and speak to the consumers that you serve more, to really understand their needs and how we as a sector can start to tailor those products, our services, and our ways of working together that will not only help those communities improve and help us reach our global goals, but will really put that consumer at the center in driving those choices and really achieving their own personal ambitions. So thank you. I know that there's plenty of other speakers, and looking forward to a great session.
Great. Thank you so much, Erin, for kicking this off. Great message. I'd now like to turn to our second opener. Probably doesn't need an introduction. Jan Willem Rosenboom, the senior advisor at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They've been a longtime partner of SATO going back 10 years now, and they also supported the research that we're going to hear today. So very welcome, Jan Willem.
Thanks, Jason, and thanks, Erin. Also really happy to be here. And going back those 10 years that you talked about, Jason, 10 years ago, SATO did not exist. And the foundation made an investment in Lixil. And the interest we had as a foundation was to support rural delivery models aimed at really at rapidly scaling access to improved sanitation. And so we made a pure product development investment in American Standard at the time, which Lixil is the parent company of. And it started really simple. The question was, how can we improve the plastic pour flush pans available in Bangladesh to address issues with clogging and to lower the water use while retaining the ability to manufacture it locally at low cost? And there was the SATO as the result of that development process about 2 years later. And from there on, we continued partnering with Lixil to expand the geography, to go not just to South Asia, but also bring in Sub-Saharan Africa in as a target market. And we expanded the scope of our work with Lixil to develop additional products that are aimed at low-income consumers. So now, as you can see on the SATO website, there's a whole range of pans and other products that support single and twin pit latrines, direct and offset pits, things like that, as well as local manufacture in a growing number of countries. And more than 1 million toilet pans later, and in the midst of continuing very high demand, we realized that the entry into Ghana of SATO pans offered a great opportunity to look at the demand for SATO products in some more detail and understand some questions like, who actually buys them? What role does the income of people play? And do we actually manage to reach the lower income communities that we would like to see improve their sanitation, right? That's for the foundation. That's always a key question. Do we reach the poor? What are the reasons people buy these pans, or what are the reasons they decide not to buy? What does product awareness play in the willingness to pay? Things like that. And you'll hear in the presentation exactly what the questions were and what came out of that. And like Erin, I hope that this information is not only useful for programs in Ghana, but can also be used elsewhere. And as the foundation, our long-term hope is, of course, that many more companies will follow in Lixil's footsteps and decide to offer products to help people improve their sanitation for not a lot of money. So really looking forward to the presentation, and thanks very much. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you so much, Jan Willem, and thank you much for the partnership. You can see how much this has grown just by some of the people in the session here, and we are grateful for this support over the last 10 years. And also a great setup to the research. So I'm really happy now to turn it over to the researchers and our partner Archipelago & Co. And I'm just going to introduce Laura Arribas, who will introduce also some of her team and take us through the findings and the barriers and the drivers for adaptation of the SATO pan in Ghana. So thank you very much and welcome, Laura.
Thank you very much, Jason, and hello, everyone. Yes, as Jason said, my name is Laura Arribas and I work for Archipel & Co. We are an inclusive business consulting firm and we partner with organizations to accelerate the transition to an inclusive economy. Sanitation is one of our pillars and also one of our passions, so we are thankful for the opportunity first to have run this study with the team and also to present the results to you today. So together with me in the virtual room is also Justin Dikowski. He's a partner and general manager at Archipel & Co. UK, and I have been working in his team since 2018. And in the next 35 minutes or so, as Jason said earlier, I will be presenting the key learnings from the study that we ran for the SATO team on the adoption of the SATO ban in Ghana and specifically in peri-urban Accra, which took place between mid-2019 to the early 2020 before the world stopped. So this study obviously was commissioned by the SATO team within LIXIL. It was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So thank you, Jan Willem. And we, Archipel & Co, were in charge of the end-to-end delivery from the design phase, execution to the data analysis and reporting. And in this process, we worked very closely with two partners in Ghana. The first one is the Total Family Health Organization, TFHO, who was responsible for setting up and running the SATOPAN sales trial in the target markets, and also El Para Consult, a market research company. So in terms of the main objective of this study, so this was to understand the diffusion or the adoption of the SATOPAN by households in peri-urban Accra. And specifically, what behavior changes or which factors influence the decision to buy or not new innovations in the capture stage of the sanitation chain. So we looked at things, as Jan Willem mentioned, why would the buyers choose to purchase the SATOPAN and what reasons were given by the non-buyers not to adopt, and how, for those who were purchasing the SATOPAN and using it, how was the usage and installation of the SATOPAN influenced their usage and attitudes. So yeah, as I mentioned, so if we look at the sanitation chain in this study, we were looking at the capture stage. From a methodology and study approach perspective, the study was made of two main components, which ran in parallel and they were feeding each other. So TFHO, as I mentioned, was responsible for setting up the SATO sales trial. And for that, they selected and trained 8 door-to-door sales agents that would go and visit households in the target locations. They also selected 20 retailers or hardware shops, and they stocked those retailers with SATOPANs and also with point-of-sale materials. And finally, they've also selected and trained 20 masons or artisans on the process of how to install the SATOPAN. We will see it a bit later, but we did the study in 2 locations. So in one of the locations, the masons were also incentivized for selling the SATOPAN. And in addition to these 3 channels, so setting up these 3 channels to sell and install the SATOPAN, TFHO also carried out a number of demand generation activities, such as video projections in the communities, promotional stands on local markets, also promotions during church events, to name a few. And in parallel to the sales trial, the product uptake research was carried out with support from El Para, and it consisted of 3 main phases. So we started by doing an ecosystem and consumer qualitative research. So we used human-centered design to understand the needs of the target markets and help shape and inform the sales trial. So, for example, we ideated some ways on how the promotion of the Satopan could be done more effectively, adapted to the setting of the target markets. After the qualitative study, we carried out a baseline study with 100 respondents. This was done before the Satopan was introduced or sold in the target markets. And the objective of this baseline study was to firstly confirm the potential and the need for the Satopan in these target markets, and also test the questionnaires and the whole logistics of the study. And finally, the third and the main and the core survey is the main quantitative study. And this was done in parallel to the sales trial. So here we gathered data from approximately 250 respondents. And these respondents can be categorized in three groups. So firstly, we had non-buyers, and we had answers from 77 of them. So these are obviously households where a sales attempt had been made, but they had chosen not to purchase the Satopan. Then we had buyers, non-users. So these would be people who had purchased the Satopan, but at the time of the survey had not yet installed it or were not using it. And we need to bear in mind that there were at least 3 weeks between the purchase and when the survey was done. So we'll explore a bit later when I show you some of the results why there was this delay on the actual installation and starting to use the Satopan. And finally, the third group of respondents were the buyers users. So this would be those who had purchased the Satopan and also had installed it and were active users of it by the time they were interviewed or the survey was done to them. And I'll show you some examples just to help bring this into life. So on the left picture of the slide, you can see one of the retailers equipped with the Satopans and also point of sales materials. And to the right, you can see an example of Sato promotion in a local market. So you can see the sales agents handing out leaflets and also showcasing how the Satopan is used and maintained. In terms of the study locations and also what was the existing situation, sanitation situation in these target locations. So as we mentioned at the beginning, we were targeting peri-urban setting. So we selected 2 districts in the Greater Accra region, Sayo Sudoku, which is in the interior, and Ada East, which is a coastal district. And we were looking for districts that were homogeneous as possible, but also geographically distinct, so that we were able to compare the results. In terms of the current sanitation situation in these locations, so majority of households in the markets lived in compounds. So it is very common, and people are used to sharing their sanitation facilities. Between 20 and 30 of the people rely on public toilets, and open defecation is practiced by over 30% of the people in these districts. There is very limited collection and treatment infrastructure, and the collection and treatment is generally the responsibility of the district assemblies, but they have limited resources. So when we were there in the field, we found out that we learned that there was one vacuum truck in the area, and it was challenging for the district assemblies to get the truck to come to their district to empty community toilets, for example. So again, just to reiterate the point on the focus on the capture stage for this study. in the next couple of slides, just to show you pictures of the typical toilets that we found during the study. So the most common toilet that we found was the ventilated improved pit, the VIP, followed by the Kumasi VIP, which has 2 pits. And after the VIP and the Kumasi VIP, the next more frequent toilet that we saw was the simple pit, both on a squatting setting or in a seated position, as you can see in the slide. And when it comes to maintenance, while majority of the toilets that we saw were fairly well maintained, we also found some examples of very degraded and less well maintained toilets, as you can see in this picture. Interestingly, we also heard a lot of talk about biodigesters. So you can see in the pictures a couple of examples of biodigester septic tanks, and there seemed to be a lot of talk about it. There were trainings being offered on how to install one. You can see on the right-hand side a leaflet of one of these trainings, but actually we didn't find many of them installed in the districts and the communities that we studied. So there was something in emergence. So until now, I've given you a quick overview of the methodology that we followed for the study, what we tried to do, and what were the setting, the locations where we did the study. I'll now move on to the second part of the presentation, which is to share with you some of the results from the study. And we've structured these results by looking at the barriers and the drivers to adoption of the Satopan. So we'll start by looking at the barriers that we identified. And through this study, we basically identified 3 top barriers to the purchase and the usage of the Satopan. These were price, not able to make a decision, so the shared decision making, and installation. So if we start by looking into the price barrier, we actually found that the price of the Satopan itself, which was an equivalent of $5 was not a major issue for majority of the households in this district. So there wasn't an affordability issue for the Satopan itself. However, if we consider what we've called the total project cost, which would include the installation, then it really varied depending on whether the buyer had an existing toilet and also the materials of the existing toilet, or whether they had to build it from scratch. That's why we saw that almost 80% of those who had bought the Satopan and were using the Satopan had installed it in an existing latrine. So they had retrofitted the Satopan in an existing toilet. And also majority of them already had a concrete slab. So that made the installation of the Satopan both quicker and also much more cost effective. So from here, we could conclude that there was a preference for incremental purchases. So this was regarding price. The second barrier that was given by the non-buyers was around difficulty to make the decision. So 49% of those who didn't buy the Satopan said that they were not able to buy the decision. Again, as we mentioned earlier, in these locations, majority of the people share the compounds with at least 3 other households, which makes the decision-making process more complex. But also, in addition to the added complexity of deciding to build something new or make changes to something in the compound, the shared management of facilities across the tenants was also seen as a source of complexity for 35% of those who did not buy the Satopan. So some of them claimed that they were worried about other tenants not keeping and maintaining the Satopan as they should. So as a consequence, it is common that these shared investments tend to be avoided. And finally, the third main barrier to adoption that we saw was around installation. So we've already seen the implications of installation on the costs as a deterrent to purchase the SATO-PAN. And yes, 43% of the non-buyers claimed that the complexity and the costs of installing as the reason not to purchase the PAN. But actually, more interestingly, was that even those who had purchased the SATO-PAN, almost 70%, so 68% of them had not installed the SATO-PAN. And again, when we asked for the reasons, they refer to the lack of funds for the installation itself, or also problems with the installers. And the most common example here was the installer not being available. So this the delays in the installation of the SATO-PAN also posed some challenges while we were doing the studies, because at first we were aiming to do the survey to the buyers 3 weeks after purchase, assuming that would be the 21 days. That's what they declared. That would be the time that it would take them to install the SATO-PAN. But what we actually found out was that it was taking much longer, and in many cases, even several weeks after when we went to do the survey, people had not yet installed the SATO-PAN. So here, just to show you some pictures of SATO installations that we found. So on the left, we can see a VIP ventilated improv pit with the SATO-PAN installed at the bottom of this porcelain seat or bowl. The squatting installation, which was how the product was explained to be installed. Seated position, which was very common, as we will see later in some of the results that I'll share with you. And finally, just to show you an example, but this is actually not representative of a SATO poorly or installed not in the right way. Majority of the cases, almost 90% of the SATO-PANs that we saw had been installed properly, and the SATO was working as the seal of the PAN was working as expected. But there were some few instances where the SATO-PAN had not been installed in a usable way, so then the benefits would have not been materialized. In this case, we cannot, from the data, we couldn't know if this installation was made by one of the trained masons, but the assumption would be that in this case it would be the buyer, him or herself, doing the installation, and that's why there may be some issues, or it may not be installed as expected. So we've looked at the main 3 barriers, again being price, the shared decision making, and installation. What we also found is that actually a key to unlock these barriers was to demonstrate the product, to showcase the product. And here, 30% of non-buyers declared that they couldn't understand the benefits of the SATO-PAN, while 91% of the buyers said that the benefits were clear and those had been explained by the door-to-door agents. And also almost over 1 in 5 of the respondents said that they wanted to see others using it first. And we also had some qualitative statements from the agents saying that having videos to show the usage and maintenance of the SATO-PAN would be very helpful, and also even saying that if they had installed the SATO-PAN for themselves, they would have been able to better promote the product. And just to show you again an example of a SATO-PAN demo toilet that was built by a retailer at the back of his shop. So this was done by his own initiative, but it's a great example of this product demonstration, and he was actually one of the best performing retailers in the sales trial. So yeah, this what you can see in the pictures was right on the back of his shop, so he could easily take his potential SATO buyers and show how it looks when it's installed, how it's used, how it's maintained. So it makes it a lot more real and easy to understand. So just to stop for a second, so so far we focused on barriers to adoption. So I will now move to drivers to adoption, and here basically the adoption drivers can be were a mix of both needs and aspirations. So if we look at the needs perspective, the main three reasons given by the SATO buyers for purchasing the SATO pan were reducing the smell, keeping the insects out, and improving safety. So we'll look into them in a bit more detail and see how having the SATO pan installed and using the SATO pan actually improved these elements. If we start by looking at smell, and for insects, the results were very similar. So I've condensed both in this slide, focused on smell. But here we actually see that the SATO usage drives the biggest improvement when we asked for the frequency when they found the smell of the toilet unpleasant when going into the toilet. So if we look at this graph on the left-hand side, the red bars means that they would rarely or never find coming into the toilet the odor unpleasant when going into the toilet, and we see that users it's where the biggest improvement is made in that regard. And that supports also the finding that almost 100% or 98% of those who were using the SATO pan agreed that malodor was reduced since they were using the pan. So then here again an example of the SATO meeting the expectations. So smell was the number one need, number one reason why they wanted to buy the SATO pan, and it definitely delivered on what the users expected from a smell reduction. And I also, you can see in the box on the right hand side, some data from another study that we did with Firmenich and also support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2019. So in this study, we were also looking at the role of malodor in sanitation-related decisions in low-income urban settlements. And here, what we found is across locations, and here you can see China, Kenya, and South Africa, it was observed that some of the owners of shared toilets were not using their sanitation facilities. And at least 2/3 of the respondents indicated that the fear of malodor was the key reason and why they were staying away from using the shared toilets that they owned. So again, very supporting findings from the other research around the role of smell as a driver for adopting new sanitation innovation. Moving on to safety, which ranked third in terms of reasons to purchase the SATO pan. In the study, we also looked at sanitation-related quality of life components, and we looked at which components were more impacted or improved by the usage of the SATO pan. So we asked the respondents questions about 5 aspects of the quality of life, which are affected by the sanitation services. So we asked about safety, privacy, shame, disgust, and worry. And from the results, we learned that safety and disgust were the 2 quality of life components where the SATO usage gave the biggest improvement. We saw a slight difference between women and men. So female users perceived a bigger improvement with regards to safety. while male users perceived a bigger improvement with regards to disgust. But both of them ranked at the top. And I'll stop in related to actually the safety and disgust. I'll stop for a second to talk about the heat. So this was an interesting learning that we came across during the qualitative interviews, and this was an issue raised by many women across both study locations. They kept talking about the heat that was coming from the pit from public and community toilets, and they argued that this heat was the cause of a yeast infection, or what they referred to as the white, which was more prevalent than a big issue among women who need to squat for both urination and defecation. So definitely a big topic, and preventing the heat was also seen as one of the SATO's benefits and one of the drivers to adopt the SATO-PAN, particularly among women. So still looking at the drivers to adoption, but moving from needs to actually aspirations. From this perspective, we saw that over 70% of the buyers have installed or plan to install the SATO-PAN in a seated position. And we've seen some examples, some pictures earlier in the presentation with the porcelain bowl on top of the SATO-PAN. Here we can see another example of the SATO-PAN being installed in a raised seated position. And again, from the qualitative study, we learned that men in particular saw this as a very important addition to the toilet as they grew older, and squatting was becoming more challenging. So almost over 70% of both users and non-users had installed or were planning to install the SATO-PAN in this way. And also in terms of aspiration, so pride, 100% of those who had bought the SATO-PAN and were actively using it declared feeling proud about having a SATO-PAN. They said that people respect you more when you can show your guests and have them go to the toilet in your own compound, a toilet that is clean, smell-free, and that it's safe to use. So this was definitely a very important driver. And also when we asked for the users of the SATO-PAN, what would be some new features or additional features that they would like to add to their SATO-PAN toilet, they suggested things like automatic flushing, putting an outside cover, and we heard a lot like make it look like a water closet. So again, this aspirational element was very clear and came across very strongly. So this was basically it. Just to summarize the key messages, the key points from the presentation. So we were looking at the capture stage, and we're looking at what factors and behaviors influence the adoption of new sanitation innovations like the SATO-PAN. From a barriers perspective, we saw that price and installation, so having this total project costs, including the installation costs, is very important, and also the preference for incremental purchases. Also, the complexity surrounding the shared management of facilities, which is seen as complex and often leads to shared investments being avoided, and how product demonstrations work as a key, a way to unlock these barriers to help prospective buyers understand the benefits of the product. And from a driver's perspective, we've seen that adoption is triggered by a mix of needs and aspirations. So addressing the buyer's priority needs, in this case, the reduction in smell, insects, and increase in safety. How having clean and safe toilet is linked to perceived health and lower health risks. Again, reference to the heat that we found. and how installations in seated position, the porcelain bowls and seats, show how the toilet is seen as a signal of social status and as a source of pride. So this is a quick and overview of some of the key learnings from this study. In order to maximize the value of these learnings from this study and also from other SATO studies, we also facilitated a series of workshops at the beginning of this year with representatives across the SATO business. And the idea was, or the objective was to have some concrete action plans that now the SATO team can use and can drive to increase and continue to increase the SATO usage by African pit latrine users. So we hope that the results from our study become useful in that path. And with that, I'll hand over to Jason. If there are any questions, we'll also have a chance to answer them. And yeah, we'd be happy also to get the offline questions. You have our contact details there. But Jason, all yours.
Well, great. Thank you, Laura. And thank you again to you and your colleagues and partners on the ground for carrying out that research. It's added quite a bit of value to us, and we're really happy to share it with the sector. So thank you so much. I think you probably want to catch your breath, but maybe we'll take just a couple questions now, if that's okay, between you and Justin. I think there's a couple we can address. So the first one goes back to the biodigester slide. So for the biodigesters, how is the operational sustainability being ensured? I know that wasn't the focus of the research, but maybe you had spoken to some of the households.
Yeah, sorry, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Like we said, unfortunately, there was more talk than actual examples that we saw in the field, and where we saw them installed. And I think you could see in the pictures that were actually the houses were in better condition than some of the other households that were the target for the SATO ban.
Mm.
So, I'm not sure if operational sustainability is on the maintenance part, or
Yeah, I think they're just
what is
speaking
meant.
about operational sustainability in general. I think at the end of the session, if we have time, we can go back. And there's not so many attendees, so we can probably ask the person who asked it just to speak up. But I think, just given time, let's just move on. I'll ask you one more, and this is from John Sawyer at PSI. They were heavily involved in this project, as you know. Were you able to gather data on whether customers preferred seated or squat toilets?
Yeah, I guess indirectly. We didn't ask that question directly in the survey, but as you saw in the presentation, even if the product that was sold was meant to be installed in a squatted position, over 70% of those that had installed it had done it in a seated way. So I think we can conclude that there was definitely a preference for that. And as mentioned, primarily among men, it was considered as an important feature as they grew older. So yeah, while we didn't ask about it directly, it was one of the learnings that came very clearly from the data we captured.
Okay, great. There's a couple others here. I think some of those we'll ask at the end, because I think they're also going to apply to other panelists that are about to come up. So thanks again, and we'll move on.
Thank you.
And we'll stay in Ghana, actually, and I'm really pleased to welcome Isaac Ndaya, who's the Business Development Manager at Total Family Health International. They're our lead partner in Ghana, who along with PSI have scaled up our product nationally and made a lot of good progress in the last 2 years, even during the pandemic. So Isaac, you're very welcome. I think you have a slide, if I can share that, or you can share your screen. It's up to you.
You can share that for me. Hi to everyone, and My name is Isaac Ndaya, as Jason has mentioned, and I work with the Total Family Health Organization team here in Ghana. And we have been part of this research. And so my conversation starts with a bit of a background before Satopan, and then we look at Satopan as a game changer. And so prior to Satopan arriving in Ghana, in 2015, we started working as an organization in SWASH. And so Satopan actually is less than 5 years in Ghana. As at the time, Jason, you could project my slide. Yes. So prior to the arrival of Satopan, you see on my left and maybe on your right of the screen, you see before Satopan, and then you see after Satopan. And so in most cases, this is what you would find in a typical, pit latrine in Ghana. And you have that onto the right is the Satopan. And so before Satopan's arrival, we actually had masons across doing either full flush with your regular ceramic bowls, or you have the households doing these pit latrines. And so Satopan came in it was actually launched in 2017. So it's less than 5 years old in Ghana. And it came in as a game changer because prior to the arrival of Satopan in Ghana, you had some segments of the market that actually demanded a better solution than your regular pit latrine. And so what happened was that you have the artisans or the sanitation installers improvise what they call a valve that was handheld. And so if you wanted an improved latrine, they are able to fix that either with a squat ceramic bowl or a seater. And then you have that valve fixed in. And that valve, after you have done your own thing, you either flush with your foot or you use a hand to flush. And that posed a lot of challenge to them. The challenge was that it easily gets broken because of the pressure and the frequency of use. It had the concept of the SATO, but it did not give them the solution they were looking for. And so SATO came in handy. And one of them actually said SATO is a game changer. So SATO was introduced in 2017 to a group of sanitation service providers at the time on a project called the Gamma Project. And so throughout the Gamma Project, they either did a full flush, and the cost and all of that was so high. And so Satopan came in handy as a better solution, especially for the target market that we're looking at. And so we introduced Satopan in 2017 into the Ghanaian market, and we have scaled up since then up to now. Quickly, or fast forward to this research work. Prior to the research work, we started the project, or we launched Satopan without any consumer insights or market data as we have it presented on this study. And so we went to the market with some level of data, anecdotal data. And based on that, we actually did our segmentations with the broader understanding of the sanitation, in situation in Ghana and in communities, came out with the strategies, and then launched the product, had a go-to-market strategy, and then we went on. It was as though we were shooting in the dark because, one, you did not know what would work well for the consumers, and we had little consumer insights. But though we went without these insights, we did not miss the target. We still were on target and were able to deliver some good numbers. Quickly on this, what this study actually tells us is that we went on without so much market insights, but however, even our guesses were close to reality. It comes to confirm some of the guesses we had at the time to be able to strategize go-to-market strategy. And so it sort of comes to confirm the issues in terms of the product. We were able to communicate, and some of the issues that came up in our communication in terms of product had to do with the reduction in smell. And so the reduction in smell, the absence of flies, and then the safety, especially for children in homes. And so these were the the pain points that we saw from the existing pit latrines. And so we projected these things. So you would realize that the study actually comes to confirm these guesses that we actually took to onto the strategy. But what is the learning around this this project, or the outcome of this project? It actually takes us back to the drawing board, to the strategy level, where we would have to look at the number of things and what are the pieces that are missing even in our strategy. Because like I said, we went into the market with little consumer insights. Now we have very rich consumer insights from this study. And so we have to get back to the drawing board and relook at the strategy. And some of the areas we will look at fixing especially is in the area of the product itself. And so you would realize that in the slides presented by Archipel and Co., there were issues of status associated with toilets. And if you have a clean toilet and it's something that has the semblance of your full flush or water closet that has a seater. And so you would realize on my side that others are actually building a concrete seater and fixing the Satopan so that they can, even though it is not your regular ceramic seater, you will still be comfortable. And so that actually leads us to the opportunity to introduce a new variant. And we have piloted the Satopan stool as a result of feedback from this study. And we are looking at scaling up the Satopan stool here in Ghana. Another area is the area of pricing. And then in the presentation, it is not so much about the pricing of the Satopan. Satopan pricing is good, but it has more to do with the total cost, because Satopan does not offer a full solution. And so we're looking at how we can actually work with artisans to be able to build Satopan into more affordable, household toilet solutions, so as to present it in some segments of the market as a full solution, cut down areas that we can cut down in terms of the superstructure and all of that. And so we present it as a better and affordable option in terms of a full toilet solution. And one key area is also in the area of our sales model. We have sales models that look at using regional distributors, district distributors, and all of that. But these insights from the study actually tells us that yes, there are a number of routes to the market, or sales models where you can actually work through the masons, use the retailers, and then the most effective is the use of sales agents. And so what we have actually taken from the insights is that we actually are beginning to build sales agents, and we have so far trained over 700 sales agents in the northern part and then some other parts of the country to be able to make use of these insights and then scale up Satopans. Whilst not eliminating the existing models, we are actually developing sales agents, working closely with the existing wholesalers and getting support, giving them the support to be able to have their own sales agents that will be able to scale up the uptake of Satopans into the very rural areas. And so it actually gives us opportunity to really look at our sales model and then see how we can fine tune that to be able to to drive Satopan uptake in Ghana. Another area that we're looking at is in the area of promotion. And so, like I said, it comes to confirm the elements that we use in our promotion, which is the absence of order free. We promoted it as order free, and we promoted as flies free, insects free, and then safety. So it comes to confirm that. So it tells us that we are on the right path. And so how do we consolidate that? So it means our strategy for promotion and activations will be built around that and make that more solid for the consumer to be convinced that Satopan is the way to go. And so these are some of the quick learnings that we have picked, and we actually have started, trying to incorporate that into our strategy and then scaling up the use of. Is my 5 minutes up?
Yeah, but it's okay. Anything else?
Yes, so basically this has come at the right time for us to be able to refine and retune our strategy to scale up Satopan, business in Ghana and make it make sanitation a business. Yes, thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Isaac. It's been great working with you guys, with PSI. We're really attracted to how you were an NGO at one time, and now you're transitioning into a social business. And the volume that you've delivered in Ghana has exceeded our expectations. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate that. So we're going to go to the next panelist now, and I'd like to introduce Sam Lagat, who is our lead for the SATO business for all of Africa. And Sam, it would be great if you could give some flavor, both from this experience in Ghana and other markets, and how you're incorporating these types of insights into the Africa business and improving the sanitation offerings that we have. Thanks a lot. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Jason, and nice to meet you all. As Jason has mentioned, I am Sam Lagat, leader for SATO Africa. I'm based out of Nairobi. And the rest of the SATO Africa team sits in 6 countries. And out of those 6 countries, we have licensed manufacturing in 4 of them. As part of our business model of, making, selling, and use of our solutions locally. And the reason why we do this is so as to empower, just local communities to be able to solve, these sanitation and hygiene challenges, using local means and in a sustainable way. And this is why we've invested in the local framework. Today, we've provided solutions to over 16 countries. Erin mentioned, the work that we've been able to, to do across the globe. And it goes without say that Africa, and we're glad that Africa is part of that journey, and it's part of, we're able to contribute towards, providing better sanitation. To the people across the globe. And, we don't do this without, working with a long chain of stakeholders and value actors. And, for us, this would mean manufacturers, the licensed manufacturers that I've mentioned in these, 4 countries in East and West Africa, private sector, we have, supply chain partners who, enable us to have reach and continuity of supply of, the solutions that today SATO is very proud of providing. And then we also have, other public partners who are involved in different aspects and different value, from demand, from awareness and just development partners. We've heard about affordability, and today, sanitation is not just about the hardware. We've heard about, being able to afford installation, leave alone afford, the, SATO solution. So, we have, financial partners as well who've come into sanitation to unlock some of the barriers. And most importantly, really is the last mile, local community groups, who, come in the form of volunteers and also masons, all of us who work together, in order to provide sanitation and hygiene to a deserving end user. And so at SATO, we've sort of identified 4 critical success factors. And for us, we play around those 4 factors. One is accessibility. Accessibility is about supply chain. It's about ensuring reach and availability of, the solutions and the products and the services, that today we offer. And that's, it's just availability and convenience. How close are we to the consumer? Because today we are, as Erin said, we are consumer centric. So one of the needs of a consumer is, yes, we know that, that there is an option, but where do we get it? And this is part of that accessibility. Then there's affordability. Affordability is not just about the cost of a SATO. It's the cost of that, all those levels from manufacturer to the point where it gets to the consumer. And there's sometimes you find that it's a long chain, and that affects, the product or the solution being affordable. And so, and in our case, especially in social businesses, you can't, avoid the aspect of a long chain. Thinking about rural, thinking about off-grid. Then there's the aspect of awareness. Now, awareness is broad, from the whole aspect of, education, in the NGO world, to, not just availability of products, to, today we have, we've learned about the insights of needs and aspirations. That's all about awareness, right? And then there's acceptability. Yes, we talk about SATO, but is it acceptable? Does it work? We've heard about, those aspects of acceptability and the like. So I will just highlight two of these factors in line with these consumer insights from the Ghana study. And I'll just focus on access, which, I've just said is about availability and convenience. Now, this has been a barrier, there's been barriers to supply, especially at the last mile, to the consumer. And some of this includes, being able to coordinate between demand work. There's a lot of demand work today. But what about supply fulfillment? Now, there's a whole conversation around supply, but this is one aspect that is a barrier. And hence why we have teams on the ground, and those teams are actually today charged with the work of business development. And partly it's just to find innovative ways. And innovation is not just about product, it's about finding innovative ways to really meet access, which is supply. Then you find that being rural setting, supply is fragmented today. And rural areas, you find that there's vastness, the distance between homes, land, people live in big tracts of land, and that impacts supply, especially to rural communities, leave alone the fact that we're talking about sanitation, topic. So there's challenges of continuity in supply and availability of SATO supply and installers. And how we've overcome this is through the development work today with by working with existing partners that supply products to the same household. And what this allows us to do is be able to leverage on that infrastructure and that competence. And then we support this through training and awareness, especially when it comes to installation. And it's one of the insights that came out from the Ghana study, that one of the reasons why an end user would purchase a SATO and not install is because lack of an installer, a mason. So this is how, as part of our way to tackle that, the barriers is through capacity building. An interesting challenge, though not on the consumer side, is the fact that because sanitation seems to be a new space, so you find that at stockist level or outlet levels, there's always the challenge of competing against other products that have a better return on investment, a faster turnaround time. But this is part of the awareness that eventually will happen once demand is able to be plugged into supply. Moving on, so an important aspect of convenience is not in just providing the product alone, but installation, which is the true value sought. SATO is as useful as it being installed, not in the hand of the consumers, like we've seen in the study. And we've seen that it even takes 21 days in Ghana, from purchase to installation. And these are the gaps, and these gaps are actually barriers, but they can be overcome. And we are doing the right thing. We are identifying those barriers. In Kenya and Uganda, just to highlight, we are registering growth in these two countries, especially, and success because of a move towards coordinating efforts by the different actors in order to provide a full value to the consumer. So we're bringing together, those who are in demand, those who are involved in supply, and those who are involved in, last mile, whether it's community-based groups, sales organizations that provide, social goods and services, and being able to address that end user as a package. So there's a shift from individual efforts to coordinated efforts. And this is a key learning and a way in which we've been able to address this. And so all of us focusing on a single outcome as opposed to each playing its own part. This has led to even benefits within each organization. One is optimized effort. So there's reduced duplication, there's efficiency in terms of resources, and leading to better quality when it comes to conversation around sanitation and uptake. And then there's that harmonized messaging, and of course, at the end of the day, we end up accelerating. Today in the journey towards access to basic sanitation is still far behind. So this is how some of the benefits towards that. The second one and last one for this particular session is awareness. And this is really more than just creating demand and top of mind, right? For us at Sato, it's really about understanding the target, right? So awareness is not just about end user and the consumer, but it's everybody else across the value chain. And this is important because of the messaging and the desired response. We've talked about needs and aspirations. Now, unless we understand that and we curate our messaging, this irrespective of what role you play in the sanitation value chain, it will become a miss. So what I'm saying here is that it's important to understand the objectives of the value and the value sought, and having that right communication tool that allows us for both reach and meet the objectives. So I won't go too much into the topics of the needs and aspirations and sort of the tools used, but I would like to say the effective ways, just in summary, is for us as Sato, it's a costly affair. Awareness is a costly affair. And on the private sector, we use professional services. We have our own people promoting, we have agency services, and this is a cost. So today it may look like a barrier, but that's because of having the resources. But it's important to mention that you find that in parallel, there are a lot of conversations. Yeah. And in Tanzania, for example, we have programs like the National Sanitation Campaign, which not only speaks into toilet upgrades, but it speaks to the woman, right? And the aspect of the household having a toilet and the benefit and the aspiration about it. And we've been able to benefit in terms of this collaboration. And then the last but not least is door-to-door today is considered very effective, right? And that's because of familiarity. You're talking to someone from your own community, there's that goodwill, but however, it is time consuming, it is expensive, and and resource demanding. So it's always important to have innovation, and this is what I'm bringing to the table. It's important, the takeout here is that innovation around all these different aspects, especially from the inside. Today we've identified the what. I think now, for us here, is to really discuss the how and discuss how we can collaborate. For me, that's what I would like to share. So, lastly, Jason and the team, this said, for me, as I said, it's important to be aware, to be intentional and strategic about awareness and demand work, because this is what really, for me, triggers uptake. And the work today in terms of reaching not just the current consumers, but the future, right? The current work addresses, the current programs addresses the current need. But when we look about the future, we need to consider real behavior change for future generations. Today, close to 50% of Africa is below 20 years. So how do we inculcate a future culture for better sanitation and hygiene? One consideration we have in Sato is we have a schools program, because we know that by impacting children, we're actually impacting that behavior. So tomorrow when that child has a job and is building a toilet, they'll consider better sanitation, right? So that said, and in the interest of time, thank you for your, for listening in, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So I turn it back to Jason. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much, Sam. Really, really appreciate that overview. Hopefully there'll be time to continue this discussion at the end, and also afterwards with any participants and in the sector in general. So thanks so much for that. Really helpful. You're a very operational guy sitting on a mountain of data that you're using extremely well. I appreciate that. So now I'd like to turn to innovation, and it's the same question basically in terms of how we're taking some of these insights and some of this data and plugging it into the innovation side of the business. And to do that, I'm really happy to introduce Daigo Ishiyama, who is our leader for innovation at Sato globally, and also the inventor of the Sato Pan. So very welcome, Daigo.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Jason. Hello, everyone. I'm Daigo Ishiyama. I look after innovation for Sato. And I really wanted to emphasize, what everyone else has said, really customer insights drive all of Sato's designs and what we do. Yeah, so as you can see on the screen, yeah, thank you, Jason. So these are some of the examples of the product diversifications we've done over the years, and some we're in the process of trialing. So we do these, product diversification to really make sure we understand the customer insights and meet the needs and wants of the local users. And yeah, I just wanted to take a few minutes today to take you through some of the thinking that we do behind our innovations with some visuals. Next, please. Yeah, so as Laura presented, we know, some of these, the barriers to toilet usage can be smell or insects. The presence of insects, no one likes cockroaches and flies flying around. And really no one likes, being in a smelly environment to use a toilet. Right, so and also FSM really starts with toilet usage, a capture. And capture starts with toilet usage. And so really by making the toilet usage experience, enhancing that to be a very pleasant one is a very important first step into FSM. So so we looked at a lot of the toilets that were there back in 2012 when we started, and we devised this trap door that shuts out, or that helps to eliminate, minimize the bad smell and the insects that go in and out the pit. And also the water usage, by using this drop mechanism instead of a P-trap that's conventionally seen in these pit latrines. We can flush these toilets with 80% less water than the conventional pit or the P-trap system. So, these things really drive, for people to stop all pit defecation and like the idea of fixed defecation. Yeah, next, please. Yeah, so in India, during the SPM program, the government of India was promoting the construction of a lot of these twin pit 4-flush latrines. And so we worked with the government, the installers, the masons, the end users to really understand what the challenges are of constructing a twin pit latrines, and also usage of the twin pit latrines. And we invented this what we call a V-trap, which has 2 outlets from a device that has the same water-saving trap door feature inside. But also helps to eliminate the common challenges of the pit latrines clogging, the twin pit latrines clogging because of the conversion box, the diverter that diverts the flow into the 2 pits. So we eliminated the need for that conversion or that, the diverter. And also the pit switching that needs to happen every couple of years. We made that process a lot cleaner and easier without having to touch the feces by just turning the swivel bucket inside the V-trap over to the other side. So we launched this V-trap in 2017 in India. And also what we've seen, not only in India, but globally, is the process of lining a pit is a very labor-intensive and time-consuming process for the households and the installers. Typically, households needs to collect the bricks and call the installers and dig a hole. And the installers, the masons, come in and line the pits. And it's typically done with brick and mortar, like you see in the picture. So what we're in the process of trialing now are these plastic panels that shits, nested in a box, very lightweight, that you can assemble on site. So the panels interlock and make this round shape, and you can stack them as many as you want. And that would, form this cylindrical liner that would line the pit. So we're in the process of trialing that. Next, please, Jason. Yeah, so this is the picture from this trial in India on the pit liner. As you can see, they're making a twin pit latrine using this pit liner. Next, please, Jason. And also in Uganda, because of the different soil types and the different geographies, we tend to test our products in different parts of the world. But so through these trials, we've gathered so much valuable insights and feedback from the installers, the users. The one in India has been in use for a year and a half now. It's gotten through many rainy seasons. We understand the soil conditions change over time with the conditions. So we've gathered a lot of good insights and feedback. And currently we're in the process of enhancing the design to make the product more robust. So as you can see, we go great length and we make great effort to gather user insights and ensure the sustained use of our products. And really these customer insights drive all of Sato's designs. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Daigo. A nice overview. And just to remind everyone that we have a virtual booth exhibit here at FSM. So if you want to check out any more of these technologies in more detail, please go ahead and go over to the booth after the session and visit. There's also a way there you can contact us if you have any questions or if you want to know anything else. So now we'd like to open it up to another partner, another entrepreneurial business based in Jordan, and this is Akyas Sanitation. And what attracted us to Akyas, and also they're also one of the mentees of this year in the Toilet Board Coalition Accelerator Program, is that they developed the whole treatment system in a bag, and they're also working on technologies across the whole value chain. And what struck us about this is that they're doing it by trying to ask as little to the user and the consumer as possible. They're piloting now in some emergency settings, but they've already programmed in the fact that they have a lot of water washers. They don't want people to change their behavior while we develop more sustainable sanitation solutions. So with that, I'd like to introduce the founder and Chief Technology Officer to give us a little flavor of Akyas, Mr. Bara Wahba. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason, for the introduction. As Jason said, my name is Bara Wahba. I'm co-founder at Akyas Sanitation. And we develop wash products and services for non-sewage sanitation system. But before introducing Akyas and Akyas product and services, I want to talk more about the context and where we operate currently. As you know, we are based in Jordan, which is in the Middle East. Jordan is considered one of the poorest with water resources. Furthermore, the Middle East is hosting around 40% of the displaced population. Therefore, we started developing our products to the displaced population who are living either in informal tented settlement or in refugee camps. And the common thing in those two settings is lack of infrastructure and resources. So in this picture in front of you, this is one of the neighborhood in the Zaatari camp. You can see the water tanks from their houses. Each household gets water from these water tanks. A household of 6 people would receive 1 meter cube along the week. On average, we are talking about 35 liters a day per resident. If you're going to toilet twice a day, you can imagine how much water is left for all the other activities between cooking, drinking, and cleaning. In fact, while we were building our facility in the camp is located in a semi-arid zone. The temperature right now is like plus 40 centigrade. The workers were complaining that after a hard day of physical work, they simply couldn't take shower. The pain does not end here. You're out of water, means you need to spend more money to buy more water. And when workers realized that with our system that they can save more water, they were quite good with it. So Akyas involvement with the served community is a holistic one and is community-based. And what that means is we see that FSM is about the whole value chain. In other words, we did we did not work on enhancing the performance of just one step in the FSM value chain. Instead, we developed a value chain that fit the end user and where the end user can be operator, with the emphasis or focus if the end user is a woman, not a male. So this is our system. This is what really we ended up with. It's a container-based system with a bag at its core, and where we call the bag as a portable wastewater treatment plant. The bag contains a powder mix that neutralizes pathogen on site. And the bag itself, the bag sheet, acts as a membrane. It allows only water vapor to pass, and that will shrink the waste on site as well. And around the bag, as you see, we developed a whole series of products to enhance the product performance and make the product more user-friendly. For example, we developed a powder doser to distribute powder in more equal way. And this is one. And we developed our own pan that separates not only urine, but also cleansing water from the fecal waste. And what we did so far is we are validating these models in different pilots with different segments. So one pilot is with working people, so it's called PAN. And one pilot is open for pregnant women, disabled population, and kids. And we used a seated toilet in this one. And we're validating the people acceptance when they are not using really the water in flushing. So this is what we do, and we're looking really to scale up our work this year. So we're looking for partnership with other organizations. And we're happy to answer any questions if anyone has. Our email address is written below. Thank you, Jason, and back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Bara. And I'm glad we met and we're working together, and we've been impressed that some of these types of solutions, they're all over the place now, but you've developed one that doesn't require people to change their whole culture just to go to the bathroom. So I think that's a great step forward. I really appreciate that. So now to close us out and to get the last word, we're going to have Mr. Subbu Raman, who's with Scope in Tamil Nadu, India. This is an NGO on the ground there that approached us not with a proposal or not with a request for donation, but by giving us feedback on users and what they actually need. So, and it's been great working with you in India. Our team there has really appreciated what you've done to help validate our products and get the word out. So thank you very much, sir. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, in India, many people are like to construct the toilet, no problem. But the only thing is, provision of safe toilet has met with a certain constraints, namely non-availability of water for using the toilet. Many toilets are constructed, but not using the toilet because no water for even for drinking. Then how can they use the toilet? That's why they are not using the toilet. So the priority they are giving for water. So what happens? Very less water toilet model is needed. For that, I have constructed nearly 130 toilets, set up and toilets in one of the block in Trichy district. So people are like it now. People are using the toilet because it is very less water. And also in many PowerPoint presentation, I have seen the cost is more. But when you compare to here, the cost is less. No problem in India. Cost is less because it is that the flap door is instead of feed trap, it is the flap door. So not necessary flap feed trap, and also not necessary the junction chamber, construction of junction chamber, not necessary. So we can reduce the cost of construction with using this set of pan. Only thing is, we need some advocacy, more advocacy. Even though I have met the collector, district collector, I have constructed the sanitation park in Chennai, Tamil Nadu state headquarters, and the Trichy district collector office also. I have installed the Satopan toilet model toilet, and many people are visited, but need more awareness on construction of using the Satopan toilet, more awareness. Then another thing is the masons training is needed, masons training. If the mason are properly constructed with the Satopan toilet, then no problem. So what my suggestion is, so far the toilet constructor, those who are having that constructed the toilet, they are using the toilet without any difficulty. One thing, they know the advantages of that Satopan toilet. So all these things we can explain to the government officials and the panchayat presidents, stakeholders, masons, teachers. All of them should need this awareness about the Satopan toilet. Recently, 1 year back only, we are using the toilet. After that, COVID-19, because of this, we are not able to concentrate that one. So hereafter, we have to select the location specific toilet, where should be construct which toilet, like that we can make it, and this will be very useful. Regarding the scope NGO, we are constructing more than 1 lakh toilet, different types of toilet, but this Satopan toilet is very, very useful one, because using less water. Even the open defecation, they are washing their body, that water is enough here also. So no problem in the Satopan using the toilet in India, in Tamil Nadu, in different places also now introducing that one. That's why I feel very much glad that the sanitation, sustainable sanitation means it should be, toilet should be usable one. Then the treated one is making the compost like that. So twin pit toilet is very good model that is very suitable here, that the box is there, that the flap door is there. So no problem, the construction and the usage of toilet. Any questions I can share it, no problem.
Great, thank you, Mr. Subbaraman. Really appreciate that insight, and thanks for the encouragement and the feedback over the last couple of years. We just have a few minutes left. I think we can run a little bit over, I'm told, if anyone wants to stay, but I think we'll jump right into some of the other questions that we have here today. So I have a question here. And I'll send this one to Daigo. And it's in India, we have a habit of using chemicals for cleaning the toilets twice or thrice. Can you share the durability of Sato against chemicals, specifically acid wash chemicals?
Yeah. See, the chemical, if you use the chemical, then the pan may be damaged. And also the pit in the goat side, the inside the pit, the make composting, that bacteria died. So not using the phenyl or any chemicals for cleaning the toilet. For cleaning the toilet, soap water is better. And in Tamil Nadu, some moisture is there, small, that powder is enough. That powder we can use means that is safety. Soap powder like that. So it is easy for the cleaning the Satopan tiles. Otherwise, chemical means they may damage the surface of the Satopan.
Right. So the Sato pans are made with chemically resistant plastic. So the chemical itself won't damage the surface of the Sato pans. It will not.
Even not damage the pan, but inside the toilet, that leach pit, that may not be useful. That's why.
So that's right. Yeah, that's correct. So that's right. Something we want to work with the local governments, how they construct the leach pits and the twin pit latrines, for sustained usage. Yeah. But just to answer the question that Pragadish, raised, the cleaning itself. with the chemical, the Sato against chemicals, the chemical itself won't do anything to the resin that we use to make Sato toilets. Thank you.
Great. And Daigo, if you could just stay with us. Here's another question. I'm sure others have responses too, but how does the Sato pan reduce malodor effectively?
Right. So I showed in that slide, so the trap door that's under the Sato pan to close that opening, the pit opening, that really helps to minimize odor that comes into the latrine. And so the main difference with having a water seal like the P-trap water seal and the mechanical trap door system is that by default at the rest state, the trap door is closed. If you just let the P-trap sit and the water evaporate, it would eventually open, become an open state. But with the door, the normal resting state is closed. So, and it only opens when the load is applied on the door, whether that's the weight of the poop or or the flushing water. So that's the only time it opens. So it's a fraction of a second that it opens every time. So it really helps to close the door, the hole, the pit opening, almost all the time, and it creates a separation of the fecal matter in the pit to the environment. So that's how the trap door helps to minimize the malodor that comes into the latrines.
Great, thank you. And just the last one is a comment to see if Sam, if you want to address this. I think you read it from Lusaka, from the Lusaka sanitation program. And they're talking about one of the drivers there is the fact, and that they like the Sato and the municipal, is that it minimizes the amount of solid or municipal waste that households can throw into the containment system. So I wanted you just to comment on that. I think you've also had some experience with that in other markets.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. And thank you, Mr. Kapanda, for that question. Well, I guess it's because of just behavior on the ground is that, pit latrine is also used up as a place to just throw, unusable, waste and items that perhaps, the community or the household might not need or use. So the fact that we have this trapdoor tends to deter and discourage that kind of activity. And hence why I responded back directly to the question saying, this is good insights because, beyond that aspect of deterring, other types of waste being thrown down the pit, is the fact that, Sato being embedded as part of a full solution has actually increased the uptake and acceptability. So, for me, this is actually, there's more learnings that I would like to take outside of the call. For the benefit of being able to work with the team in Lusaka. So perhaps maybe I don't know if anybody else had anything else to add. Daigo.
I think we can keep this discussion going
All right.
with the participants. We are unfortunately out of time. Normally, this type of research and presenting this, a company wouldn't open up this discussion. We would have this internally or with our partners, but we really think that we need to share all of the insights that we can with the sector. And I think us, and we invite others as well, should be doing more of this. We want more diverse and sophisticated markets. We want more choice for people everywhere, regardless of income level. It's better for all of us. So with that, I'd like to thank all the speakers, the panelists, the FSM organizers, and most especially the participants for joining us live. For some people, it's very odd hours. We really appreciate that. Our contact information is here. Please visit the booth. Please keep in touch with us. Keep the feedback coming, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much, and goodbye.